Imagine planning your next adventure, excited to explore a new culture, only to discover your passport isn't enough to get you there. Restrictions, bans, and even hostile policies block the way for Filipino travelers in certain parts of the world. In a globalized era where travel is often seen as a right, it may come as a shock that not everyone enjoys equal access to every destination. For Filipino citizens, travel can sometimes come with unexpected hurdles. Some countries are off-limits due to political disputes, labor laws, or strict immigration policies. Join us as we uncover the top 10 countries where Filipinos face significant challenges or outright bans. From recent policy changes to long-standing restrictions, we'll explore what's behind the barriers, leaving you with a deeper understanding of the current travel landscape for Filipinos. Country 1. Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia's recent push to promote tourism has transformed it into an emerging travel destination. However, for Filipinos, travel and work opportunities in the kingdom come with a set of unique challenges. While tourism visas have become easier to obtain, stricter immigration policies for work permits and residency still impact many Filipinos seeking employment in Saudi Arabia. Historically, Saudi Arabia has been a popular destination for overseas Filipino workers, OFWs. But recent labor reforms and nationalization programs have prioritized hiring locals over foreign workers. This shift has made it increasingly difficult for Filipinos to secure long-term visas for employment. Furthermore, strict cultural norms and laws around gender, dress, and behavior can make adjusting to life in Saudi Arabia challenging for Filipino expatriates. Although tourism has opened up, certain areas and cultural sites remain off-limits to non-Muslims, and visitors are expected to follow the country's conservative dress code and public behavior regulations. Violations can lead to fines or even imprisonment, creating a unique set of rules that Filipino tourists must navigate carefully. While Saudi Arabia's Vision 2030 initiative is changing the landscape for tourism, many restrictions still make it challenging for Filipinos, especially those considering employment. The Philippine government advises caution for its citizens here, especially regarding employment opportunities and cultural differences that can lead to misunderstandings. Until further reforms take place, Saudi Arabia remains a complex destination for Filipinos. Country 2. North Korea. North Korea's severe restrictions on foreign travel are well known, and Filipinos are no exception to these rules. This isolated nation enforces some of the strictest travel policies in the world, allowing entry to only a select group of tourists under tightly controlled conditions. Filipino travelers face additional challenges here due to the Philippines' close ties with Western countries. Since diplomatic relations are nearly non-existent, it's incredibly difficult for Filipinos to secure a visa for North Korea. While some travel agencies offer guided tours, these are extremely limited, and the agencies themselves are under intense scrutiny by North Korean authorities. Every movement within the country is monitored, and tourists are rarely allowed to interact with locals or explore freely. This isolationist policy means that even if a Filipino secures a visa, their experience would be restricted to a highly curated view of the country. One significant deterrent is the risk involved. North Korea has a history of detaining foreign nationals, often for minor infractions that would be acceptable in other countries. For Filipinos, the possibility of imprisonment or harsh punishment for unintentional offenses is a serious risk that deters many from attempting to visit. Furthermore, the Philippine government advises against travel to North Korea, emphasizing the potential dangers and lack of consular support. Given these numerous barriers and the potential risks, North Korea remains an unwelcoming and dangerous destination for Filipino travelers in 2024 and 2025. Country 3. Bhutan is famous for its stunning Himalayan landscapes and commitment to gross national happiness, attracting travelers seeking a unique cultural experience. However, its tightly controlled tourism model and high costs create significant barriers for Filipino tourists. Bhutan imposes a daily tourist fee that covers accommodations, meals, and guides, making it one of the most expensive countries to visit. Although Bhutan doesn't explicitly ban Filipinos, the high cost and restrictive tourism policies effectively limit access. The government's high-value, low-impact tourism approach seeks to protect Bhutan's culture and environment by keeping visitor numbers low. For Filipinos, this means that visiting Bhutan requires a significant budget, often deterring those who would otherwise be interested. Moreover, independent travel is not permitted, and tourists must arrange all activities and accommodations through authorized tour agencies. This strict regulation can be challenging for Filipinos who prefer flexibility or are unfamiliar with guided travel formats. The visa process itself is relatively simple, but the associated fees and requirements make it challenging for budget-conscious travelers. While Bhutan is undoubtedly a magical destination, the financial and logistical requirements make it less accessible. For Filipinos considering a visit, the high costs and limited independence may serve as a deterrent, keeping Bhutan an elusive and exclusive destination. Country 4, Iraq, home to ancient civilizations and significant religious sites, has been rebuilding since years of conflict. However, security issues continue to pose serious risks for travelers, and Filipinos are among those most affected. While Iraq's government is working to stabilize the country, travel for foreigners, especially those without a strong reason, remains limited and complex. The visa process for Iraq is lengthy and often results in rejections due to security concerns. Even if a Filipino were to secure a visa, traveling freely in Iraq is highly discouraged. Conflict zones are still prevalent, and violent incidents are reported regularly. For Filipinos, these risks are compounded by the lack of consistent diplomatic relations between the Philippines and Iraq, which limits access to essential consular services. Furthermore, Iraq has strict rules on foreign visitors, particularly regarding cultural sensitivity and religious practices, which can lead to unintended offenses. Given these factors, even Filipino travelers with genuine reasons to visit, such as business or humanitarian work, must weigh the risks carefully. While Iraq's history and culture are undoubtedly captivating, the current climate makes it a dangerous destination. For the safety and security of its citizens, the Philippine government advises against non-essential travel to Iraq, making it largely inaccessible for Filipinos today. Country 5. Libya. Libya, once a thriving tourist destination for those interested in ancient Roman ruins and Mediterranean beaches, has become a country fraught with danger due to ongoing conflict and instability. For Filipino travelers, the journey to Libya is filled with obstacles, from difficult visa requirements to high security risks. Despite its cultural attractions, Libya's political situation has created an environment where tourists are strongly discouraged from visiting. One of the main reasons Libya is challenging for Filipinos is its restrictive visa process. For most travelers, securing a Libyan visa is next to impossible, as the government prioritizes regional security and limits access to foreigners. Even if a Filipino were to obtain a visa, the reality of traveling within Libya is complicated by factional violence, frequent checkpoints, and the constant threat of attack. Libya's infrastructure has also suffered due to years of conflict, with limited public services, medical facilities, and safe accommodation options. The Philippine government advises against travel to Libya. And for Filipinos without an urgent reason to visit, the risks far outweigh the benefits. Consular services are minimal, meaning that Filipinos in distress would struggle to receive the assistance they need. While Libya holds historical appeal, these current conditions make it inaccessible for many, including Filipino travelers. Until peace and stability return, Libya remains a challenging and unsafe destination that most are advised to avoid.
Country 6. Iran. Iran is a country known for its stunning architecture, ancient history, and vibrant Persian culture. However, geopolitical tensions and strict visa policies have made travel difficult for Filipino tourists. Iran's entry requirements are particularly strict, and Filipino travelers face additional scrutiny as they attempt to navigate the visa application process. Obtaining a visa for Iran can be a lengthy and uncertain process, with many applications delayed or denied due to political relations. For Filipinos, the cultural and political landscape can be challenging to navigate, with strict regulations governing conduct, dress, and interactions with locals. These cultural sensitivities must be respected, but any misunderstanding could lead to serious consequences for foreign travelers. Safety is another consideration, as political instability and occasional protests create a volatile atmosphere in certain regions. The Philippine government advises caution for any Filipino planning to visit Iran, with a particular emphasis on understanding local customs and laws. Additionally, diplomatic representation for Filipinos in Iran is limited, reducing the level of consular support available in emergencies. While Iran's landscapes and historical sites hold undeniable allure, the challenges involved in traveling there mean that it remains difficult and complex for Filipinos to visit. Travelers must weigh the risks and be prepared for the cultural and legal nuances that make this destination a unique but challenging experience. Country 7. Algeria. Algeria is an enticing destination, with its mix of ancient Roman ruins, Sahara desert landscapes, and vibrant cities. However, its strict visa policies and security concerns make it difficult for Filipino travelers to access. Algeria's government enforces tough immigration policies, making the visa application process long and uncertain, which often deters tourists from the Philippines. The visa application for Algeria involves extensive paperwork, and approval is not guaranteed even if all requirements are met. Filipino travelers often face additional challenges as the government prioritizes regional security and manages tourism with caution. Algeria's commitment to maintaining tight control over its borders makes entry difficult, especially for tourists unfamiliar with the process. Safety is another concern, as certain regions in Algeria are restricted due to political unrest and the risk of terrorism. While some areas are safe, the Philippine government advises its citizens to exercise caution when considering travel here. For Filipinos, the lack of consular support means that any issues could be difficult to address without assistance from nearby embassies. In other North African countries, Algeria is undoubtedly a fascinating country with a rich cultural tapestry, but the bureaucratic and security obstacles made it challenging for Filipino travelers. For now, only those with a strong reason and thorough preparations are advised to attempt a visit. Country 8. Afghanistan. Afghanistan has long been associated with conflict, and its recent political upheaval has further complicated travel for foreign nationals, especially Filipinos. Since the Taliban took control in 2021, Afghanistan has become increasingly isolated, with strict travel bans and safety advisories in place. For Filipinos, securing a visa for Afghanistan is nearly impossible due to the unstable political climate and limited diplomatic representation. Even if a visa were attainable, the environment in Afghanistan poses severe risks. Ongoing armed conflicts, terrorism, and political unrest make it one of the world's most dangerous places to visit. The Taliban's rule has also led to human rights issues, which create additional safety concerns for travelers. The Philippine government strongly advises against travel to Afghanistan, and for those who must go for critical reasons, extreme caution is urged. Additionally, Filipinos who travel to Afghanistan lack access to essential consular services due to the absence of a Philippine embassy in the country. This lack of support means that any problems, from lost documents to serious medical emergencies, would be challenging to resolve. Without diplomatic assistance, Filipino travelers would face these difficulties alone, increasing the risks. While Afghanistan's landscapes and history are undeniably fascinating, the security threats overshadow any appeal it might have for tourists. Given these challenges and dangers, Afghanistan remains an unsafe and largely inaccessible destination for Filipinos in the foreseeable future. Country 9. Syria. Syria, a country with a rich cultural history and stunning ancient architecture, has unfortunately become one of the most dangerous places for tourists. Years of civil war have transformed it from a popular travel destination into a high-risk zone, especially for Filipinos. Even today, much of Syria is under a threat from conflict, making travel nearly impossible for all but the most essential reasons. The visa process itself is daunting, requiring multiple approvals, and many applications are rejected outright due to security concerns. Even if a visa is granted, travelers face restricted movement and constant monitoring by local authorities. For Filipinos, this high level of control and surveillance makes it difficult to experience a serious cultural heritage and natural beauty safely or independently. Safety concerns in Syria extend beyond conflict. Kidnappings, terrorist attacks, and bombings are unfortunately common, making it one of the least secure destinations for Filipino tourists. Additionally, the lack of a Philippine embassy further complicates travel, as Filipinos have minimal access to consular assistance should an emergency arise. Despite its allure as a historical destination, Syria's current instability means that even the most seasoned travelers avoid it. With a high risk of violence and no reliable support systems, Syria remains largely inaccessible and unsafe for Filipinos today. Country 10. Yemen. Yemen, once celebrated for its unique architecture and ancient culture, has been devastated by years of civil war, making it one of the most dangerous places in the world. For Filipino travelers, the risks here are extremely high due to ongoing armed conflict, famine, and widespread poverty, all of which make travel both unsafe and impractical. The process of obtaining a visa for Yemen is difficult and often unsuccessful, as the government is primarily focused on addressing internal crises rather than accommodating tourism. For Filipinos, the lack of diplomatic presence further complicates travel, as there is no direct consular support in Yemen. In the event of an emergency, assistance would be extremely limited. Yemen also faces significant health and infrastructure challenges, with limited access to clean water and healthcare facilities. For Filipinos considering a visit, these challenges are compounded by the risks of violence, including kidnappings and bombings. The government's warning against travel to Yemen reflects the seriousness of the situation, as even essential aid workers face substantial threats. Although Yemen's culture and history are remarkable, the current climate means that most travelers, including Filipinos, are advised to avoid it altogether. Safety remains top priority, and Yemen is simply too high risk to consider for tourism at this time. While these countries present significant challenges or outright restrictions for Filipino travelers, each one has unique reasons behind its policies, from safety and political issues to strict visa processes. These barriers serve as reminders that travel isn't a universal privilege and that policies vary widely. For Filipinos dreaming of exploring the world, understanding these restrictions is crucial for safe and successful travel planning. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the world's restricted destinations. If you enjoyed this video and want to stay informed about travel updates and tips, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Safe travels, and see you in the next adventure.